in pro wrestling, because I watched it a lot, but I didn't know the terms for it, there are different characters, different lines of work you can go into. You can be a heel.
The heel is the bad guy. The baby face is the good guy. Now, I think one of the interesting things about wrestling is that in recent years we have these anti-heroes. So I think the line between the heel and the baby face is not as clear as it once was. But yes, the good guy is, and the match is choreographed in such a way, when it's done right, where the heat is put on the baby face.
The heat is heat
meaning the distress, the angst.
And a lot of times the baby face will get heat from the heel in ways that are not technically legal, according to the announcer, but the referee doesn't see it.
Yeah, well, let's just say that they play fast and loose with the traditions of Greco-Roman antiquity. So the baby face is in trouble. He makes the baby face come back. Now, how it ends, that's another whole thing. But it really needs to have that element.
Yeah, and you talk about in your book, you talk about how, and you were just alluding to how major league sports now have incorporated pro wrestling. So rather than sort of pro wrestling being, you know, defeated by showing itself to be fake, it's now that sort of infotainment kind of quality that pro wrestling pioneered is now all over the network.
I started this project thinking that the book was this behind-the-scenes look at an interesting little carnival demo mode that somehow morphed into an international multimedia merchandising juggernaut. But as I got into it more, I realized that it wasn't just about wrestling getting big, but it was about wrestling values inculcating themselves into what we think of as respectable sports. So think of the National Football League, the trash talking, the dancing in the end zone, the non sequitur promos that they do, and to me it's like Animal Farm. You know, you're looking from pig to man, man to pig, and you can't tell which is which anymore.
Yeah, that's often true within my family as well. But we're working on it. We're getting some work done. So one of the things, the names of these people, I just love. The names of the character. Haystack Calhoun, I remember from my day. You know, help me out. Ric Flair.
Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Who, of course, is a great imitation. He's an imitation, though, of the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, who is the you know, the blonde, the bleached blonde from whom all great bleached blonde wrestlers have flowed.
And then people pick their own. They pick like, and Vince McMahon has been very canny at this, is finding what is the trigger that's gonna. Because you want the heel to be someone that the crowd can really boo. And so they find, like, what are the people really angry about? So during the first Iraq War, is that when Sergeant Slaughter, there was a character named Sergeant Slaughter.
That's right.
Did he turn? Didn't he turn?
He was a super patriot. He was so big they had G.I. Joe dolls modeled after him. And then he came back because he had a couple of daughters going through college.
So he had
some bills to pay. Well, he had a bitter falling out with Vince McMahon because he tried to unionize the wrestlers. So he got fired in the mid-'80s at the height of his popularity, and he went to other wrestling organizations.
That would be an intimidating picket line to have pro wrestlers. I didn't realize that's how he got kicked out. But then he came back,
and the condition was that he had to turn heel. Because they figured that would be a great hook for the upcoming WrestleMania, Hulk Hogan against Sergeant Slaughter, who was being advised by General Adnan, and this is in fact another really interesting, legitimate connection. General Adnan is a guy who is actually from Iraq, Adnan El-Kaisi, and he wrestled here both as an amateur and as a pro, and then he took pro wrestling to Iraq under Saddam Hussein, and so there are a lot of this is the really weird thing when you get to know these guys a little bit, is that you realize that they are method actors. They're taking something from inside them and they're blowing it up.
And they're also, in a way, they're dancers. You talk about, especially in the good old days that I remember, that they actually, because it's an improvisation in the ring, they have to work together or else they'll get hurt. It's like a pas de deux, sort of. It's like a dance.
The best of them are really great artists, and I mean that sincerely. I'm not saying that mockingly. The facials, the psychology, the ability to work the crowd, and you have to do it by feel. You cannot script out every movement. So there has to be some chemistry between the two wrestlers. And there are certain wrestlers who are good at carrying other wrestlers who might be stiff and not believable looking. And
how big is it? How many people watch and go to pro wrestling now?
You know, I'm not really good at those kinds of figures.
I want the figures. I want the exact figures.
But
that's what this show is about, is data,
right,
Irvin.
Right. But it's huge, and in pay-per-view is where the biggest revenue stream is right now. But the newest craze is mixed martial arts, which is real. And, it points to something that I think is one of the really great ironies of what you might call postmodern wrestling, where everybody knows that it's all exposed and the gig is up. And you would think that it would become safer, and instead it's become more dangerous. And that gets to one of the serious themes of my book, which is that, while we're being entertained by these guys, they're dropping like flies.
It's unbelievable. You have a list at the end of all the people who've died from steroids and from various accidents. I want to talk more about that.